Right, I put a video up recently saying, "Give me your ideas for videos." It's not that I've run out of ideas for videos. I've got tons of ideas for videos. However, I have a few people that I said I'd make videos for. It's just gone, and those people haven't come back and said. So some of the requests on the videos are really complex. You need to do a dissertation on them. I just won't be able to answer them because it has to be within line with my work, but I will go through them. And one of the questions was, Anthony, can you give us a personal update, what's going on and everything? So here it is. Here's the first answer to that video. Right, guys, as you can see by the gaudy wallpaper in the background, I now live in a caravan, so I'm trailer trash. Okay, but the reason for that is we're building or rebuilding a barn. It's going to take about 2 years, so I will be doing updates on this channel of my barn. But basically, this year is out. It's British sort of legislation, law, council, it's red tape, bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it. It's so complex. It's not like other countries where you can't get things done, you got to bribe things. It's very, very non-bribey in England. You don't bribe anyone. It's very clear, very strict, but it's so strict that it stops you doing stuff now. So you can't do this, and your water's got to be this much deep, and this, and they've got to have this tape above the electric pipe, and it's so complicated. So we did want to start in spring this year, but it took so long to get through the bureaucracy that actually we just putting the caravans up, and we're going to start again in spring next year because it's October now. It's too cold to work. We've got strip roofs and everything. So most of the day I will wake up, get a cup of tea, do some Japanese language practice, have a little go at my kanji and everything, which is what I do. I'm drinking mint tea in one of these little things. Emma goes off and does her thing, and then what I do is I'm going to then do either chopping wood, doing something in the barns, laying water pipes, foundational things for next year to start. So, but once we hit into the November, December, or December, January, February, I'll probably not be doing much building work out there. It's too cold. So England's very cold then. So we'll start again then. So that's what I'm doing at the minute. In the evenings, I'm working on my next book. Now, the book that comes out next, which is finished, I'm not working on, that's finished, is the I Ching, the Ultimate Guide to the I Ching, which you may or may not have seen. You can pre-order it now. I'll be doing more videos on that over the winter because it comes out in February on Valentine's Day. So that'll be out. But I am working on a book now. Unfortunately for you guys, it's not samurai. So if you're wondering where all my... Like, the Book of Bushido came out, the I Ching's coming out, but I'm doing a non-samurai, non-ninja, non-Japanese book. I know, shock horror. I can't tell you what it is for obviously reasons. You will find out mid next year when it goes up. I think many of you will like it, but that goes up next year, and I've got to work on that. So it's going to be heavy work between now and my deadline, which is January. I might even have to work over Christmas. I don't want to, but I might have to work over Christmas, which I never do. I normally have 2 weeks off over Christmas because I very much believe in the old traditions. I very much believe in the old calendar and the old ways, and you 12 days of Christmas consist of starting on Christmas Eve. I start by the 20th, and you finish on Plough Monday, which is the 5th of January, thereabouts. So I normally have a couple of weeks off normally, but I might have to work this year. So, and then after that it will be a case of I'm going to do a sword book. So that will be not this year. The next one I'm going to start next year. I'm going to start doing something on the Japanese sword, and that's why I'm doing my research now with the swordsmanship. We're going through different lines and we're doing different ideas. I'm experimenting with things. I'm doing YouTube videos so you guys can be like, no, I don't agree with this, Anthony, or grow up, so I can test the audience and see what sort of things they like and dislike. So why have I suddenly gone swordsmanship crazy? So he holds Eric Shahan book, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay. Right. Swordsmanship crazy. Now, at the beginning, I loved martial arts. I did martial arts all my life, from Shotokan as a little lad, Bujinkan, or like Genbukan. I love martial arts. My family are very martial arts based. They're very much karate style, karate based from the 60s, 70s. And all of my family are friends with Master Toddy, who is the quite famous Muay Thai fighter, and they used to hang around. Master Toddy gave me my first pair of nunchuckers. I don't remember him, I was too young, but my first pair of nunchuckers was I got from Master Toddy. So we've done that for years. But when it came to me doing the ninja thing and looking at ninja, and I realised very quickly that you can't mix. I couldn't go out to the world and say, hey, here's some martial arts, but this is not ninjutsu, but this bit's ninjutsu, this bit's not ninjutsu, this isn't it. So I stopped doing public martial arts and then mainly focused on ninja. And I've told this people, I think videos in 2020, I think I did it in, I said, right, we've put a direct stop in now. Martial arts and ninjas not connected. And people say, well, what did they do? What martial arts did they do? You're an idiot. Obviously they did martial arts, you spoons, but you know, which martial arts did they do? So what I wanted to do is make them very separate. And then I said earlier, I said about 5 years ago, whatever it was, I'm going to put them back together but reconstruct them. And I used the analogy of a brick. We've got a foundation, next layer, next layer. So now I'm going into that next foundation, which is swordsmanship. I also am going to do spears and bows and arrows, hand-to-hand combat, water training. I'm going to do all that sort of stuff. But I have to have, it takes time and it takes a lot of energy. I don't mean my energy, but like people's energy to get together with translations and money. It's very expensive. So if we sold millions of copies of books, I could have this done in 5 years. I'd hire 12 translators, 20 translators in a row. I'd be like, you work on that. I'd be a project manager. You work on that. You work on that. But we don't sell hundreds of thousands of books and millions of books, do we? We sell enough that I can hopefully rebuild a barn. Now, just to put you up on that, it's going to look very posh and very nice when it finishes, but it's not because I'm rich. So what's happened is basically I'm selling my house in Wales. It's not sold yet, but Emma's sold her house and her mother and father are putting in. We've all put in to buy this just dilapidated old barn and 2 barns, and the parents are on one side, we're on the other, and it's going to take every penny we have to even get to it, to the point where we can live inside of it. So it'll just be a bare shell with electric plugs, and we'll be brasser broke. We'll have got rid of everything. We'll probably even have to lend money off the bank to finish it, maybe. Let's see if we get there, depending on how much I sell my house for. Emma's got her profit, etc. So don't be thinking, oh, Aunt's rich, you know. No, I will be scraping the bottom of a barrel, and I'll be living in a caravan for 2 years. And I've also inherited, or in this land, got what will become an amazing dojo, but it's going to cost about $50,000 to rebuild, because it's an oak post beamed barn, but it's just got iron on the outsides. And I'll take you around this. I'll show you. I'll do a video on my future dojo, and it's going to cost about $50,000 to rebuild, and that's after we've done the house. So I am going to be skint until we sell a lot more books or thingy. So I still will be asking for donations at the end of the year, guys, so, and that won't be long, and it just helps me get things. This year it's really helped because I've been able to buy books, computer bits, microphones, you know, whatever I've needed to get and use, but I've had to buy Jay some stuff because he's doing a really complex video for me with overhead shots and everything. So all that's been able to be paid for by you guys, which is excellent. And those people who paid last year are now in the I Ching book. Your names are all in the I Ching book, so they're all there. All the donators are there. So from the Anthony Cummins side, so if you donated to Anthony Cummins, your name is in my newest book there. So make sure you donate, guys. Right. So back to swordsmanship. So I'm going to now do an evaluation of swordsmanship, again, all the other martial arts, but I'm going to take again another 10-20 years. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you won't get it for 10-20 years. We'll be doing it bit by bit. That's why I put it up at the beginning. So and I'm just doing research, and I get it up to you guys because so you guys can see it. And at the minute I'm focusing on Yagyu Shinkage-ryu. I'm not only going to focus on them, I'm going to focus on different things, but we are rebuilding the Imokuroku, and we're looking through it at the terminology, the different lines, how it differs. And the one thing I've come to the absolute conclusion on, which I'll be doing a video on this, is there is no one Yagyu Ryu. They are so different that each one of them says, I am Yagyu Ryu, this is how the original Yagyu family did it, if not the Shinkage, if not Shinkage-ryu, if not Kage-ryu did it, and each one of them is probably wrong. I'm not joking. Each of the Yagyu lines now probably teaches something relatively different to what it taught in the year 1600, and the simple fact is there's massive amounts of change. So if you don't know, the Yagyu school started in Kage-ryu, and then it went to Shinkage-ryu, then it went to Yagyu Shinkage-ryu, which are all meant to be the same school, but the new master took over and did that, and each one simply changed it. But the problem is the name Yagyu Shinkage-ryu was so famous and popular, it stuck, even though they changed. It went to the Edo branch, the Owari branch, and it just, people, they were doing different things. There's another branch, there's Then there's the Matsudaira, which is not a branch. I'll go through that again, but it's in another video. It's not another branch. It's simply a man inside the Owari branch who wrote it down, but then the Owari branch has changed since then. So we've got change upon change upon change. And at the minute I'm using, I've just bought this yesterday, which is Eric Shahan's book. Now, I tend to, Eric Shahan's books, some people like, some people don't like, because for various reasons, but I really do like them and I think they're well worth getting. But the issue you have with Eric's books, the only way I can describe it is it's like a really good picture what I see, but it's just slightly out of focus. And what I mean by that is sometimes the translation needs to be tightened up, but it doesn't matter. He does an amazing job. I really like Eric Shahan's work. He gets a lot of stuff out. Some of it, some people have not been happy with it because you only get a third of a book. So when you buy one of his books, you get a third. The reason is because you get the original, you get the transcription, and you get that, which I think is brilliant, because then people like me can go along, say to my Japanese translators, what's the original? And the original's there. So for me, it's awesome. But sometimes I think Eric used to overprice them, and for the fact you get a third of a book in English and then a bit overpriced, some people got a bit annoyed. But I am really enjoying this. He's done an awesome. I'm going to go and I'll be making sure I mention Eric's, but this is the list of scrolls he's translated in here. But again, the problem is like most things, there's nothing to translate. There's the image, there's the name, and all you get is the translation of the name. So, and where it is in the scroll, which is, by the way, Eric, if you're watching, this is awesome. I love this. Eric, do that in all your scrolls. That is super. In all your books, that is superb. So, I'm going to be using some of Eric's books, but the obvious thing here is that what's great, what Eric's done is he put a comparison. I don't know if you can find one. He's put a comparison in between the different ones, and he put them side by side. And oh, here we go. There you go. So he's put them. There's the 1601 one, and there's the 1605 one. And as you can see, like guys in the same stance, similar stance, but you see it starts to change. And I found a few of them where they really do change. I'd have to proper search for it, but there's a few of them where it's totally different. You know, the stance, the beginning stance. Oh, there you go. There's one. So there's the beginning stance in 1601. Yeah. And there's the beginning stance. Oh no, hold on guys, I thought I'd found a really different one. No, slightly different, sorry guys. Oh yeah, well, you can still go with that. He's got it over his head and he's got it there, you know, separate. There are better examples of that, guys, but I don't want to find it while you're waiting. But like, instead of this, there's sort of this, and then it changes, like there's one down at the side, but actually the other one's up above, and you're like, yeah, it's totally changed. But so I'm really enjoying this book. So if you're still with me after 30 minutes, you know, the world's got to a crazy place now, hasn't it? If you don't capture people's attention within 10 seconds, they're off. And if you don't change the camera angle every 10 seconds, nobody can know. Everybody's like, oh my God, I'm so bored. And it's like, the world's getting retarded, really, isn't it? It's a bit weird. So personally, I'm quite happy to be detached from it. We've got an acre and a half of land here. We're going to be doing lots of stuff away from the world. It's quite nice. It's just unfortunately going to take up the next 2 years of my life away from hardcore research. So for 2 years I'll be doing 30-40% research, getting maybe one book out every year, one book out every year and a half. So I'll probably still be able to do a book a year, but there might be a gap in the publication date, because you have to take a publication date a year, don't you? So, but then I'll have a lovely barn and we'll be done. So one thing I am realizing, and really realizing, and I know this is going to anger a few people, we really don't know much about Japanese swordsmanship. We know tons and tons about a handful of Japanese sword schools from the Edo period. And by Edo period, I mean they may have their foundations earlier, but by God have they changed. So we have a handful of schools in which some people know a phenomenal amount of that Edo period, or even late Edo period system. And I might even say Meiji or Showa period. Awkward. So, you know, yes, some of the schools are still there, but yes, they have changed, and they have drastically changed. But the real thing that sticks out to me is We have got no idea how the samurai fought in the Sengoku period. Really, we do not. And we need to break it down and have a look. And Eric Shahan's book is called The Shadow School of Sword, which is my starting point. It doesn't answer the questions, but it is a point where we can start looking at things. So getting on with Emma well, that's quite nice. My dogs are doing well. I've got Bolt and Chip. He's snoring away over there. I don't know if you can hear him. Mr. Bolt, he was vicious as hell, and now he's cute. Gets on the bed, gives me a kiss in the morning, puts on his belly and all that. Stop biting me. He was locked up for 2 or 3 years basically during COVID and not walked, and he got hyper violent really, and he is now chilling out a bit, you know, and not too much. He's still a bit of a vicious bugger. So that's that. Once I finish the house, I'll then move on to the dojo. So I'm hoping, I'm 44, I think. I'm 44 years old now. So I'm hoping by the time I'm 50, I will have a fully working house barn thing, which will happen in the next 2 years. A lovely garden woods with a dojo, which has got a wall around it, and another entrance, which is across the road, and into the dojo. And I'll be opening up for courses, swordsmanship courses, and people, you can come and fly over, you can stay here at the dojo, and I'll run full courses for a week, and you can come from America, I don't mind, you just have to get the train here. We'll run some taxi servicing to the dojo, and we'll have a week here doing solid training of Natori and Yagyu. So what I'm going to do is start adding a bit of Yagyu into my Natori. I don't mean mixing them, I mean let's start using the Yagyu stuff because it was the official school. It's the best choice basically. The reason it's the best choice is Yagyu is the official sword school of all Japan. It was the sword school of the Japanese shoguns, and people used that, and it alongside other schools, but it was the official one. And Natori was the we think Natori Masazumi probably did Yagyu Shinkagyu simply because Tokugawa Yorinobu would have done it. And not only that, there's a few little hints in there, but even if not, people, samurai of that era, that time, were doing it. So we're going to stick with the Imokuroku version because there's so many versions of Yagyu. They are, some of them are totally different, some have been totally replaced. So katas have been 100% replaced now in the modern schools from the old katas. Some of them are different, some of them, you know, are close. Ito Ryodan, the one where you saw it, is very close to nearly all of them, you know, except maybe in it's a bit static and a bit thingy. But on the whole, I think we're going to start doing a bit of Yagyu with Natori, and I'm going to start searching for other things. And the idea is that in the end, you guys have a good idea of how a samurai swordsman fought, how they used a spear, how they used gun jutsu, military skills, how they did shuriken jutsu, and how they did ninjutsu, shinobi no jutsu. And then instead, remember I said, instead of just keeping it mixed at the beginning, I separated them all distinctly and said, nope, no ninja, no this, no that. And people are like, I don't understand, how did a ninja, you know, fight without martial arts? Of course they had martial arts, but they had Yagyu Shinkagyu, they had Katori Shintoryu, they had their own schools, they had their own teachers of martial arts, and they knew one thing was called kenjutsu and the other thing was called ninjutsu or shinobi no jutsu. So they didn't have ninjutsu fighting and kenjutsu spying, did they? They had ninjutsu spying, espionage, and kenjutsu. But of course, because it's in one human, it all amalgamates into like your abilities. So that's, you know, that's why I have divided them hardcore for you YouTubers to understand what I'm doing, but then we're going to re-put them in together, and we're going to start that process now. I'm not saying, please do not mistake, I'm not saying we are mixing ninjutsu and swordsmanship. I'm saying we're bringing them back together as a layered complex system inside a human brain, so that we human would know, this is how I draw a sword. Oh my god, right, if somebody's throwing a shuriken, I can put my jacket up and do this. If I'm moving through a gateway, I do this. If I want to spy on someone, I do this. Do I know when they're asleep? If I want to kill someone in their sleep, where are their guards? What's the best way to get in? How do I kill a guard dog? That's where ninjutsu and kenjutsu come together, you know. And then, so for example, I'm going off into the wilderness, I'm doing a shinobi raid, I change my spear size, I take my banner down. This is how shinobi no jutsu and spearmanship work together. Exactly like that. So there you go, guys. There's my personal update. I hope you enjoyed it. That was the first question off the questions video, and I'll speak to you soon.